Much of RAF Upwood is unused and sadly getting vandalised. Ian Williams wrote in April 2011 that he had documented 2 sightings of the phantom padre or a priest in modern clothing which had been seen by 3 people. This figure had been seen in the former chapel, which is in one of the Nissen huts, now renovated as a canteen for the engineering company. He also mentioned that the sounds of marching men has been heard around the hangars. GIS Ghost Hunting wrote in 2011 as well that the group visited Upwood and witnessed many things. While they were in the guard room, one member of the group was overcome and felt that he couldn't move. He had no energy at all and felt very sick. In the same room, everyone in the group heard voices, and an iron bar hanging down started to move on its own. And later, whilst on the general airfield, the group were followed by phantom footsteps. On Saturday the 9th of June 2012, I met with Sean Edwards at the main gate of the former airfield and was allowed in through the locked gates. The first place to visit was the former guardhouse, the windows to which had been removed prior to the gates being fitted to the airfield, and the building had suffered damage from vandals. This was the location where GIS Ghost Hunting had witnessed various phenomena, and so I was keen to see if anything was happening during my visit. Unfortunately, I found the area very quiet. The HQ building opposite had suffered a similar fate, with much of the former parquet flooring ripped out and general vandalism and graffiti everywhere. Of interest in this building was the black painted wall for the missions board. It was still visible, although in bad condition and peeling off the wall. But again, there were no feelings or experience of a paranormal nature whilst in this building. We couldn't get into the hangars, but there was the feeling that there were presences inside. I felt as though they wanted me to come in, but it was not to be. We ventured into an office in the side of one of the hangars, but apart from the jobs to do board on the wall and a memory of airmen working in there, all was quiet. After a walk around the general airfield where the atmosphere was more one of sadness and slight memories of the past, rather than a prolific haunting, Sean led me to the 2 Nissen huts, which were far more active in a paranormal sense. Nissen Hut A, as I have called it, has been renovated. The interior has been converted into a classroom at one end, with an office by the former middle entrance, connected to Nissen Hut B by a short corridor, and a kitchen with dining room area comprising a number of pine tables and benches taking up the rest of the structure. Sean informed me that this was the chapel of the airfield at one point during its long history. In addition to the account of Ian Williams of the phantom chaplain witnessed in this building, Sean related the account of a workman witnessing the same figure who looked at him while the renovations were occurring in the building. He apparently ran out of the hut and refused to go back in. It was certainly a very interesting location. There was a definite and strong, back-of-the-neck hairs-rising presence at the office by the classrooms. It was though someone, a man, was there, but I couldn't quite make contact with him. Or should I more accurately say, he didn't want to make contact with me. This area Sean identified as the location where the chaplain had been witnessed. In the dining area, I received a very strong impression of airmen on wooden chairs arranged in rows chatting, and the impression of singing, "Bless them all." Then all went quiet as a stoutish man in RAF uniform pulled back a curtain and started pointing at a map on the wall outlining targets. There was at this point a change in the atmosphere, from jollity to one of, "Some of us are not coming back," and there was a general sadness descend. Nissen Hut B was structurally sound, but not renovated. The far end of the hut, which was obviously once partitioned off, had a very unpleasant feel to it. This was, Sean informed me, the former mortuary of the base. There were a lot of jumbled images to sift through in there. They were crowding me. One was of a ginger-haired young man with a single wing on his RAF uniform, who I thought was a navigator. He came out of the shadows and gave his name as MacDonald, just the surname. Then he faded back into the psychic mist. Another figure stood at the far left corner of the hut, staying out of contact, but who was almost completely burned and blackened. I had the strangest of feelings that he was staying in the shadows, not to intimidate, but because he didn't want to frighten me. There were images of 3 bodies and what I thought were green canvas stretchers in various states. There were also buckets full of bits. There were a lot of young men trying to crowd in and make contact with me, and as such I couldn't isolate anyone in particular to concentrate on and make a firmer contact. I was getting snatches as they all tried to talk at once. Names: Gordon, Bill, Peter. Surnames: McDonald's, Atkins, Smith, Verney. I was shown flashing images of faces, all young. Flashing images of bullet-ridden and burning aircraft as their memories flooded onto me. I wanted to cry. There were too many for me to sort through. I needed to get out of there. Sean admitted that he didn't like being in this area on his own. Having been there, I'm not surprised. At the other end of the hut, there was the impression that it had been used to store aircraft parts, bits of wings, parts of engines. They looked like cannibalized spares, but I made no contacts there. It was also while we were in this area that I heard footsteps, or rather, heavy boot steps, as though someone was walking around the outside of the hut on gravel. The definite slow pace of someone on patrol, but on checking, there was no one outside, or indeed anywhere near the nissen huts to account for this. Upwood was an incredibly interesting airfield to visit, and I remain deeply grateful to Sean for allowing me to walk around there.